We begin with education, and a Deputy Director General at the Ghana Education Service has described as ridiculous the expectation that past questions will be repeated in the ongoing West Africa Senior Secondary School examination. While condemning the vandalism of school property, Anthony Boateng assured the GES is thoroughly investigating the matter, including the claim of strict supervision by students of Twinibua Kodua Senior High School. He spoke on the AM show.
Ghana Education Service and therefore the schools have their own, the regulations that deal with discipline. Those issues have not been compromised in any way, despite the circumstances in which we find ourselves. And therefore, any student or anybody who breach any of these rules or regulations will be dealt with according to the rules and regulations of the service. Now, with respect to the videos and the issues that are being discussed, I do not think for one moment that anybody should think that supplying past questions and chief examiner's report to students mean that the students were expecting those questions to appear on their final examinations. It would be a very ridiculous expectation. Like because we're giving past questions to guide in our studies, we're expecting those past questions to appear in our question paper, and therefore, when we went and those questions did not come, then somebody has disappointed us. Who has disappointed who?
But Mr. Boateng, we had a traditional way of doing this, where teachers would use it, or you would find it in the library. But this was a deliberate attempt to give each student a printed copy of the past questions. What was the communication that went along with it? Madam,
you will know, and I know, that when we were in school, those of us who could not afford even had to go to friends looking for it. And so the idea was that let's make it available to everybody, including those who can afford and those who cannot afford. In the past, when we were going to school and we were looking for question papers, we were not going to expect those question papers to appear at the final exam. They were to serve as guide and to help in our preparations. That is why we even went ahead and added the chief examiner's reports so that they will know what the expectations are as part of their preparations. Now, some of the issues being raised by the students is that their heads were too strict. That, to me, is an issue that we need to interrogate. The examinations are written under rules and regulations, and we expect supervisors and invigilators to go strictly by those rules and regulations. If there is anybody who has gone beyond those rules and regulations, we want to investigate. But if there is any other student who thinks that because of free SHS, they will be allowed to cheat and do what they wanted to do in the examination hall, it's unfortunate.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of Child Rights International, reappear, says punishment of students involved should not halt their education.
Seeing children doing that or students doing that, there are two things that comes to mind. One is when we were giving them the past questions, what was the motive for doing that? Because in the past, students do have access to past questions, and they tried as much as possible, first of all, to understand how WASSCE set questions and to possibly see whether or not some of the questions will repeat so that at least they'll be conversant with it. But in this time, government has never bought past questions for students directly. Instances where they will buy it and put it at the library so children would have access to it and read. But this time we had experience where we bought it directly for them. And for students, if you do that, there are two ways that you can express your concern to them. Either you express it like you make it known to them, but also you can also make your intention known to them by implied conditions and all that. So clearly, I felt that the decision of government to buy past questions for them is a good one, but I feel that the communication didn't go well. So they feel that, well, because we are the first batch that are going to write the first batch that are going to write the exams in terms of the free senior high school. Therefore, there will be some kind of leverage for us because a sister want to prove that what I have done is okay, more students will pass. So there's all kinds of expectations that we didn't manage properly. For that matter, students felt disappointed because they feel that if you have given them past questions for them to solve, then there's a clear indication that you're going to send a question from there, which we not solely blame the authorities for it or the student, but it is all about how we manage some of these things and how we translate policy from political decks.
Now, for the Ghana National Association of Teachers, ensuring discipline in schools and improving students' output should also be considered across board. Thomas Musa is the General Secretary.
I want us to tread cautiously at this point because whenever there is an issue like this, there is every temptation to apportion blame. For some people, they may want to blame teachers. For some, we want to blame parents. Some will want to blame the students themselves. Some will even want to blame the Ghana Education Service. And I think that it is too early in the day to start asking as to what went wrong and what didn't go wrong. If you study the video footage carefully, you will realize that there was an issue of past questions. And past questions is not today. I mean, it is a common knowledge that anytime a student is going to write his or her exam, you certainly need to make reference to the past to give you a fair idea of what you should expect. So for them making reference to the past questions, I think there is nothing wrong with it. I mean, it is something now we all went through it. But as to whether there was a promise that what they are learning is what will come, it is another issue that must be investigated. Because that there is no established fact that somebody told the students that these were the questions that are coming. There is nothing like that. The second thing is, if you listen to the one of the comment made by the students that somebody collected money from them or something like that, that is also a subject of investigation which the Ghana Education Service will have to look into. And having said all those things, I think that WAEC must be commended, and all the people who assisted WAEC in conducting the exam must be commended, because you see, if we do not take care by yielding to some of these things, we will end up producing students who will one day become our teachers, will become medical doctors, will become lawyers. And in producing our human resource, we must let them go through the required training to acquire the skills, not necessarily the certificate, but the ability to deliver on their mandate. That should be our focus.
Now, in the Bono East region, JoyNews' checks revealed that some students of the Ekumfiameyaw Senior High School threatened to protest against an external invigilator whose presence at the examination center was intimidating, according to them. They claimed, apart from harassment by that invigilator during the first paper, he prevents them from using the washroom.
The 5 senior high schools in my district, as they write for their exit examination. In fact, students will usually need motivation from us, especially those of us in authority, to making sure that the sound mind they are required will be stabilized for this examination. But before then, the district had also received a lot of complaints that there has been harassment from the external invigilators. In fact, certain names have been mentioned as to how they are being harassed, and for that matter have affected their state of mind in writing the examination. And as representative of the President and Chief Executive of the district, it's equally imperative for me to move down to the campuses where these harassments are taking place and to ascertain it for myself. Indeed, the staff have shared with me, and I have indicated that nobody under no circumstance has the power or has been given the mandate to subject these students to any form of treatment that will thwart their effort of coming out with successful grades. And so everything is in order now. We make sure these students will have their peace of mind and write very well.